Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Becomes Dragon of Phoenix Part 2. Before we start, please go support Skinny 40k for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Meeting of the Alliance leaders. After the meeting at the Haidu mansion concluded, Grafia escorted Ravel, Mickey, and Garo Haidu to the Leviathan mansion. Meanwhile, another meeting took place at the same time with members of the Alliance present, including Lady Yasaka, Lord Auden, Lord Michael, Governor Azazel, Ajuka Beelzebub, Falbium Asmodeus, and Seraphol Leviathan. The attendees were informed about the recent events, and a memory crystal containing Ravel's memories was shared. Upon watching the crystal, the members of the Alliance who were not previously aware of the situation became furious, particularly Lady Yasaka, who was deeply angered by what she witnessed, along with the other leaders. Currently, Yasaka is visibly furious and stands up with all 9 tails extended. Mysterious blue flames emerge from the tips of her tails, reflecting her anger at the situation she has just become aware of. Yasaka. Those harpies, how could they treat that kind-hearted boy in such a way? He has done so much for them. Not to mention, not long ago, he risked his life to save me and protect my daughter. Kunu, this is unacceptable, and those girls must face punishment for their actions. Seraphol. I completely understand. After discovering that it was because of those girls that a kind-hearted boy like Issei turned into a bloodthirsty monster, unrecognizable and driven by rage, it shocked me. Grafia and I experienced his fury firsthand, and I was somewhat scared both for my life and the fact that Issei seemed to lack control of himself. It seemed like he was a different person. But this was the result of his unaddressed trauma and the girls berating him. Thankfully, Ravel was able to bring him back to his senses, as you all witnessed through the crystal. So, please, Yasaka, calm down and take a seat so we can continue with the meeting. Yasaka took a deep breath, sighed, and gradually calmed down. The fires emanating from her tails began to fade, and she relaxed. She took her seat again before speaking. Yasaka. You're right. We should be grateful that Ravel helped him regain control and prevented him from doing something he would regret. However, I still expect those girls to face appropriate consequences for their actions. What they did to him was unacceptable. Auden. I agree with Lady Yasaka. These girls must learn the consequences of their actions. Seraphol. They most certainly will. Xenovia is currently holding a separate meeting involving the parents of Issei, Rias, and a few others, specifically addressing the situation. Auden. Ah, so that's why Xenovia, the Lucifer devil, isn't present at our meeting. Seraphol. Precisely. But let's refocus our discussion, shall we? Michael. Agreed. So, how is Issei's condition? Has he regained consciousness yet? Azazel. When I saw him yesterday and from what Drake told Ravel about his condition, he still hasn't awoken yet. But Drake did say his physical recovery is progressing well. However, the extent of the mental damage and how it will affect him going forward is unknown. But until then, all we can do is give him our support. Ajuka. It is indeed disheartening to witness the lack of seriousness among many young devils when it comes to the responsibility of having a peerage. It is unfortunate that some devils are merely using their peerage to amass harems or subject members to their twisted fantasies, as my own family member Diodora did. The recent incident involving the hero of the underworld being a victim of neglect within Ria's peerage is even more shocking. Rias, who is known for treating her servants like family, seemingly neglected to address the potential trauma the young boy may have suffered from his encounter with the fallen angel, which undoubtedly left deep emotional and mental scars. Azazel. I can empathize with your feelings. When Drake informed me that Rainer had managed to leave a portion of her soul inside Issei to continue his torture, I couldn't help but feel like a failed sensei. If it weren't for Ravel intervening at the right moment, our conversation today could have taken a vastly different turn. Michael. Brother, please remember that you are not to blame for what happened. You gave clear instructions to your subordinate, requesting them to simply monitor the situation. However, you had no knowledge or control over the fact that she would go rogue. Therefore, the responsibility should not fall on your shoulders as you were unaware of these events unfolding. Instead of dwelling on what could have occurred, find peace in the fact that things unfolded differently. It is undoubtedly unfortunate that the young boy had to endure torture by the soul of a fallen angel in his own mind, causing severe mental trauma. Additionally, it is regrettable that my ace, Irina, contributed to his further despair and madness through her actions involving the other girls. Seraphol. It's important for both of you to understand that you had no control over the actions of those individuals who served you. Your influence and vigilance can only extend so far. Azazel, Rainer made her decision to be sadistic and evil, continuing to inflict pain upon a good person even in her final moments and beyond. Michael, you should not bear the blame for Irina's actions. Despite being aware of the Bible's teachings regarding treachery and betrayal, if Irina were truly devoted to the faith of the biblical God, she would not have engaged in such actions, even if her intention was merely to engage in a conversation. She would have remained true and loyal to the man she claimed to have feelings for. Neither of you could have done anything to prevent this situation. Our focus now should be on supporting Issei's mental and physical healing as best as we can and restoring him to his former self as much as possible. There is no doubt that he will be impacted to some extent by this ordeal. Isaka. While I understand the relevance of this discussion to the current situation, I would rather continue talking about the state of the boy who saved me and my daughter, and I would like to know the consequences for those girls who took part in this cruel and heartless act that lead to him turning into such a mindless, bloodthirsty monster. Because honestly, if not for me seeing the memories of that day firsthand, I would have never believed any of you telling me that such an open and honest boy could become such a monster. With that said, Lord Michael, I request information regarding the punishment for Irina. Despite it not directly involving me, it concerns me deeply. This boy saved and protected my daughter, so the actions of these girls, causing him great distress, deserve consequences. I would like to know their punishment. Michael. I'll explain the details of the punishment. Gabriel has been sent to inform Irina about her consequences. She will also offer condolences to Mr. and Mrs. Haidu regarding their son. Irina's punishment is clear. The Ceres will evaluate the memory crystal shown to all of you. Her crimes of treachery go against our values. Furthermore, she prioritized her desires over Issei's well-being, disregarding his feelings. Irina has two options. Firstly, she can relinquish her angelhood and ace card, return to being human, and be excommunicated from the church. In this case, she will be released into her parents' custody and will relocate to England. Alternatively, she can choose to go on trial in the presence of all the Seraphs, where they will witness the same memories we have seen. It is likely that she will be convicted for her treachery and betrayal towards her childhood friend, her unbecoming actions as an angel, and her role as a follower of God. She will become a fallen angel and forever be kicked out of the kingdom of heaven and never allowed to set foot back into heaven due to her actions. She will also be excommunicated from the church. I assume that Gabriel has already delivered the message to Irina and left to inform her parents and initiate the punishment process, including preparing for her excommunication from the church. So, her punishment will be severe. I understand that it does not change what has happened or the harm she caused to the boy, but she will not go unpunished for her actions. That is a promise I can make. Isaka, you make a valid point, Michael. While it's true that the punishment won't undo the harm done to the boy, it is important that the girls face consequences for their actions. It sets a precedent and shows that such behavior is not tolerated. Auden. Absolutely, Yasaka. However, we must also address the other individuals involved in these events concerning the dragon boy. I am curious to know how the devils plan to punish Rias Gremory and her peerage. Additionally, if my memory serves me correctly, the fallen angel you assigned as my bodyguard was Beratil, who is the father of the devil fallen hybrid in the Gremory's peerage. During my visit, I happened to stumble upon the dragon boy on a date with his daughter. I'm curious to know, Azazel, if you intend to inform him about the situation his daughter caused and have him be part of her punishment as well. I would also like to know the status of my former bodyguard Roswas, considering she was not part of what happened to him and hoping she would not be punished, along with the rest of the Gremory girls' peerage. Azazel. Auden, I've already informed Beratil about the situation regarding Akeno, his daughter. Although I didn't show him the memory crystal, I decided to let him learn about it during the meeting he's currently attending as the representative of the fallen angels. By now, the meeting should be over and he should be fully aware of everything. But to be honest, Beratil is attending the meeting primarily as a concerned father, but he shares the same views as me when it comes to how the fallen angels perceive this situation and our stance on her actions and the actions of the other girls involved. We both believe that what they did to Issei was unacceptable, considering all of his contributions to the alliance and everyone he has interacted with and helped. In terms of punishments, personally, I believe that Akeno experiencing the disappointment of her father, knowing that he's fully aware of what she did and the knowledge he obtained from the meeting, is the worst pain she could feel. Serafal spoke to Lord Auden, explaining that Roswas should not be punished since she had no involvement in the incident. Me and Serziches discussed the punishments and consequences for Rias and the girls involved. Ajuka expressed his interest in knowing the decisions made and emphasized the need for Rias to face consequences. Albium also agreed with Ajuka and wanted to understand the punishments for the girls. As the military commander, he needed to assess Issei's capabilities post-incident. Serafal acknowledged their concerns, stating that they would need Ajuka's help with the punishments. She also understood Falbium's need to consider Issei's role in military strategies. At the moment, Serafal believed Issei should not participate in any military actions until they knew the full effects of what happened to him and whether he could control his sacred gear. Auden. That's good to know. Serafal. Yes, they will all face the consequences for their actions. Azazel. But to make it even worse, the person that held that group together was the same person they all attacked. And if I had to assume right now, the group is on the verge of collapsing. They turned upon the pillar that held them, who was the unifying factor for them. Their actions turned that factor against them. We saw what they did, we were not going to let that slide. He did not deserve that, and Rias, who failed as a king even knowing how he was reincarnated after the fallen angel killed him, should have conducted some sort of psychological investigation into him to make sure he wasn't traumatized from Rainer. But she didn't, and now she must face the consequences of her actions. Everyone agreed with Azazel's statement, even though it was truly awful to get past everything that happened. How could the girl so easily forget all the good he has done for all of them? He was the glue that held their group together, the person who had the magical power to bring others together and fix issues, and make everybody stronger just by his presence and will to help. Serafal, along with Michael and Azazel, continued to inform the rest of the leaders about the punishments they had decided on. They explained that the punishments were not just a few, but multiple punishments, each dealt in different ways, shapes, and forms. The remaining leaders approved of the additional punishments they heard the girls would receive. While this was going on, Yusaka was pondering something, thinking back to a particular part she remembered seeing in the memories being shown to her. That's when suddenly it hit her, and she spoke up, gathering everyone's attention. Yusaka. Serafal, would it be possible for you to replay the memory crystal one more time, please? I am particularly interested in seeing the specific moment where you managed to capture his attention, leading to his immediate attack. Furthermore, if you could also skip to the moment when Ravel confronted him and pause it there. I want to highlight the difference in Issei's behavior when faced with Ravel, compared to when you initially caught his attention and pointed it out to everyone here. I believe they missed it, as well as all of you who were there to witness this event firsthand. I would like to point out how, upon Ravel's approach, he remained calm and composed, merely exhibiting a gesture of warning by slamming his balance breaker tail in front of her. This was in stark contrast to his previous reactions, where he blindly rushed to attack anyone who managed to attract his attention during his uncontrollable rampage. Everyone noticed this difference in Issei's actions and were surprised. Even those who witnessed it firsthand didn't realize it then, but seeing it now makes sense why he looked conflicted when they saw how he hesitated upon seeing Ravel. But that's when Yusaka continued to point out how Issei had shown restraint or was struggling internally. He was conflicted about attacking her, which is why it wasn't an immediate action he took. Instead, she believed it was important for everyone to understand this observation. Yusaka hypothesized that the trauma Issei had experienced resurfaced when the girls took actions that intensified his pain. Yusaka drew a parallel between Issei's behavior and humans that suffer from PTSD, who sometimes develop separate personalities as a coping mechanism to deal with their trauma. Yusaka. As you all saw, there was a difference in how he acted even though he was in a blind monstrous rage at the time. I believed that when Issei saw Ravel, a part of him that had not been broken or consumed by despair, well, his mind began to split and fracture. All the while his mind was trying to cope with the resurfacing of his trauma and how the girls made it completely and utterly worse for him. But I believe it's that little part of him that was still able to see and recognize who she was, though I'm unsure by how much, or if it was even him consciously, or if it was just instincts in him telling him not to attack her. Regardless of the fact, I believe that is the reason he didn't instantly try to attack her. It's not that he had anything against you, Serafal or Grafia, but I believe that she was the last thing he could remember, how Ravel was trying to help and comfort him and show him genuine care towards him while the other girls did not. It might have been that exact kindness she showed to him, an actual care for his well-being, that kept him from doing anything to her or attacking her on sight at first and actually tried to warn her to stay away. Serafal. I understand that, Lady Yusaka. In normal circumstances, Issei would never have attacked me or Grafia. However, the explanation does make sense of why he attacked me instantly and why he didn't attack Ravel instantly. But Azazel, I am interested in knowing what you think of what Yusaka pointed out and her explanation of Issei's actions. Azazel, who listened intensively and observed what Yusaka said and pointed out, and that's when he saw what she was taking about making him feel like her theory on this matter is possible. Azazel. Lady Yusaka, you have an interesting point. During Issei's berserk rampage, he attacked anyone who caught his attention, except for Ravel. Instead, he tried to signal to her to back away by slamming his tail of the balance breaker on the ground in front of her. It also explains why he had hesitation and looked like he was conflicted. It's unclear if he was subconsciously in control, but I agree with you that a small part of him still had some control. Though it was very little, it was enough to allow him to recognize Ravel and restrain himself to some extent. That's when Ajuka jumped into the conversation as well. Ajuka. When considering the moment when Issei's mind began to fracture, it appears that it had not fully reached the point of separation yet. Yusaka. While I lack the capacity to directly observe or sense the internal and emotional damage within Issei through the memories shown through the crystal, my intuition strongly supports the theory that his mind was starting to fracture during that time. Throughout my extensive existence, I have often assisted humans who suffer from different mental illnesses or disorders, including individuals with post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD). Issei's behavior seems to mirror the coping mechanisms observed in those who have experienced severe trauma. It is not uncommon for such individuals to create distinct personalities as a means of managing the overwhelming effects of their experiences. Serafal. Well, that makes sense. And after you pointed this out to us, Usaka, it only proves it. But I guess what Drake told Ravel was true and how she was the only one that could save him from himself. Michael. I will wholeheartedly agree with you on that, Serafal. But I also saw something within her. It was determination, passion, and unwavering love for him. She had the will and desire to save him from his own darkness and despair. So, after seeing all that, I had faith that if anyone could bring him back to his senses in that moment, it was her. And knowing that even the Welsh dragon saw something in her that made him tell her that, I'm glad I gave her my support to do this. Because of her, we did not have to take drastic actions and have to end the boy's life. Serafal, I agree, Michael. It's because you had faith, along with everybody else, and even Drake believed in her. That Grafia and I were saved by her intervention at that moment. If she did not intervene, I have no doubt that he would have killed us by breaking our necks. But no need to dwell on that, luckily that never came to be. But getting back on topic, Lady Usaka, do you believe he developed a split personality in this berserk and rampaging state due to all the trauma as a coping mechanism? Would you have any more insight into this? It seems like you are knowledgeable about this topic, shed more light on this. Usaka. I cannot say for certain without personally examining the boy and employing my powers to assess the extent of the mental trauma he has endured. However, it is highly plausible. The more pressing concern lies in the fact that this is typically a condition observed in humans. I am unsure of how this would affect a human-turned-devil with a dragon-type sacred gear, particularly a Longinus class such as the boosted gear. There are so many unknown variables with that situation alone, not to mention we should be lucky that what the girls didn't trigger him to get Dragon's Fall. Though it is unlikely for a user of a dragon-type sacred gear to get Dragon's Fall, it is not impossible. And due to what happened, it would be highly possible it could happen. Moreover, Issei possesses one of the two gears that directly influence their user's emotions. It is difficult to predict the potential outcomes, ranging from worst-case scenarios to more favorable outcomes. However, Azazel has spent countless years researching sacred gears. Perhaps he may offer some insight into this particular scenario. Azazel, analyzing all the information he was learning and taking in everything that was being said before he spoke. Azazel leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Unfortunately, I have no information on this unique situation. I've never actually been able, or even thought of studying, the effects of a sacred gear user who suffers from such a condition like PTSD. But Usaka is right about how the sacred gear responds to the emotions of its user, and being that Issei's gear is the boosted gear, things are a little bit different and challenging. Not to mention, she has a point. This is something new, and I believe we should look into it, especially for the devils, since the devils have a lot of reincarnated humans turned devils that could suffer from this as well. I would like to know if any humans turned devils have suffered from PTSD before being reincarnated and if they could still experience it like Issei did if their trauma resurfaces. If not, we should start looking into that through the reincarnated former humans who are now devils. This does add a new layer of complexity, considering I never even once thought about Issei's gear being a dragon type. It could also cause him to get Dragon's Fall due to the girl's actions, though the chances are low. But I would have to say in this scenario and at that exact moment, there was a very high possibility he could have gotten it. However, I believe the only reason he didn't suffer from that is because he was engulfed with rage, anger, and despair. Thanks to Ravel, who was the only woman that did not betray him on that day. But it's hard to say what the true effects are on his mental stability with all these unknown variables. Not to mention the boosted gear's curse, which holds the resentment and angry souls of the former users. This curse can influence a user's emotions and has even caused the death of divine dividing and boosted gear users through the Juggernaut drive. The gear itself may magnify the splitting of Issei's personality, not to mention the curse that leads users to succumb to the Juggernaut drive if they're not strong enough to resist. This is a completely new territory, and I think we should prepare for the worst-case scenario and support Issei in any way we can. Once he wakes up and is ready to be around others, it would be beneficial to have Lady Usaka perform her sage arts on him to evaluate his current mental state and the extent of the damage to himself, as well as the volatility of the situation that could pose a threat to others around him. Usaka. Absolutely, I am more than willing to utilize sage arts on the young boy to thoroughly assess his mental, physical, and spiritual condition. Given that he saved both me and my daughter, I feel a strong obligation to fulfill this duty. Moreover, I am prepared to extend my assistance beyond mere evaluation, as I hold a deep gratitude towards him. Thus, supporting him in any way possible would not pose any issues for me. Auden. I am relieved to hear that you are inclined to aid him, Lady Yasaka. The most troubling aspect, however, is the lack of a clear understanding regarding the severity and volatility of the situation. As Azazel suggested, it would be prudent for us to consider the worst-case scenario, wherein the boy's condition could pose significant risks to both himself and those around him. Ajuka. I definitely understand what you mean, Azazel, and how we need to start looking into the humans reincarnated into devils. We should explore if they could suffer from PTSD, and if the severity of their PTSD before reincarnation into a devil affects the likelihood of them experiencing it again or triggers that could cause it to resurface. This is especially important since a majority of the devils now are reincarnated former humans. It demands attention and effort to look into, and I would definitely start the process to do so. But getting back onto the topic of Issei's situation and considering the current circumstances, we must also take into account the potential impacts of the evil pieces on him. There is a possibility that they could worsen the situation, leading to corruption or extensive mutations. With numerous unknown variables and Issei wielding the boosted gear alongside his shattered and unstable mental state, it would be wise to isolate him from others and closely monitor his condition in a secure location. Although this course of action may sound harsh, it ultimately presents the most effective and safe solution for all those around him. Seraphol spoke up in a very no-nonsense and serious tone towards her fellow Mao suggestions regarding how to deal with Issei. Seraphol expressed her strong disagreement with Ajuka's suggestion, emphasizing her belief that Issei has already endured enough suffering and shouldn't be made to feel like a danger to others. She argued that isolating him would deprive him of a support system and that Ravel, who has been inseparable from him lately, would not willingly allow such a separation. Seraphol also revealed that Ravel's devotion to helping Issei has been so intense that she has needed to bring her food as she refuses to leave his side. Seraphol firmly asserted that treating the boy as an abnormality or a monster that needs to be confined is not an option. Michael. I agree with Seraphol. I think that isolating the boy would only worsen the situation. He suggests that what the boy truly needs is to be surrounded by supportive individuals who can help him, particularly the woman who has already shown the ability to bring him back to his senses. Michael believes that as long as this young lady remains by his side, the situation will not be as dire as Ajuka and Auden fear. However, I acknowledges the importance of taking precautions and involving Yasaka, Azazel, and the use of sage arts if necessary, including attaching a collar to neutralize the boy's sacred gear in a worst-case scenario. Azazel. I agree with Michael and Seraphol regarding not isolating Issei and potentially exacerbating his situation. Isolation could prove to be even more dangerous than we can fathom, particularly if we separate him from Ravel, the person who has played a crucial role in bringing him back to his senses. Additionally, I find Ajuka and Auden's concerns about the possibility of Issei entering that berserker state again to be valid and alarming. That is why I propose that we intensify our research efforts and thoroughly examine individuals with PTSD, which includes helping Ajuka offer support to the reincarnated former humans turned devils and seeing if they suffered any trauma before their reincarnation. We should assess the likelihood of that trauma resurfacing and offer proper ways to help them in order to prevent further instances like this. I am specifically interested in investigating cases where individuals have developed a separate personality as a coping mechanism for their trauma. It is imperative that we categorize and thoroughly investigate each moment that might have contributed to Issei's trauma from his experiences with Rainer to his initial activation of the Juggernaut drive, all the way to the events involving the girls and beyond. Scrutinizing these details is crucial in understanding every potential factor that could have impacted him, regardless of its magnitude. Before causing unnecessary panic among those currently supporting him, we must have a comprehensive understanding of the condition he is suffering from and how to effectively address it. I highly doubt his family or even Ravel, as well as those of us who genuinely want to help him, will abandon him in such a manner. However, until we have a deeper understanding of this condition, I believe it would be ill-advised to even hint at such a scenario. Isaka. I agree with the governor's suggestion of conducting thorough research on Issei's condition, including exploring different forms of PTSD and cases where individuals have developed distinct personalities as coping mechanisms. However, it is important to exercise caution and refrain from sharing information with Issei and his current support system until we have a better understanding of how to assess and handle the situation effectively. Seraphol. I agree that it is important to inform the other leaders and individuals who need to be aware of the situation regarding Issei. It is crucial for them to be informed about our discussions and hypotheses regarding his condition, particularly because of the potential dangers involved. However, I believe it would be prudent to delay informing anyone else until we have gathered more information about his condition and its potential impact on him. As Azazel mentioned, we must ensure that we are aware of any factors that may worsen his trauma or have had a significant influence on it. This way, we can be prepared and have a clear understanding of how to approach and address his situation moving forward. Michael. I am in complete agreement with everything that has been discussed. I feel a strong sense of responsibility and duty to do everything in my power to assist the young boy who has suffered due to the actions of my ace, Irina. It is our collective responsibility to support him, considering the good he has already done and the potential for further growth and impact once he overcomes this challenging situation. I fully support the course of action we have decided upon and will dedicate my resources, assets, and manpower to aiding him. Auden. My faction and I stand fully behind helping the dragon boy through this difficult time. It is only right that Roswis is removed from Rias' peerage and placed in the same peerage as the dragon boy to aid his recovery and provide the necessary support. However, we must not delay in thoroughly investigating every aspect of this situation. We cannot afford a repeat or potentially worse consequences than what we have already witnessed. This must be a top priority and we should allocate ample resources and manpower to it. Palbium. I'm not personally acquainted with Issei Haidu, but I am aware of his significant contributions to the underworld and the Alliance. As the Mu in charge of our military, this information is important for me to fulfill my duty. Now that I have obtained the information I needed regarding his status, I can confidently state that he will not be involved in any missions, combat, or fights. The well-being of our soldiers is my top priority as the commander of our military forces. I value their mental and physical health above all else at this time. It is more beneficial for Issei to fully recover rather than risking further harm. Hence, I am fully supportive of the steps we will take moving forward, such as informing other leaders and relevant individuals about Issei's condition. As we gain a more detailed understanding of Issei's situation, we will provide additional updates. I am prepared to assist in any way possible. Ajuka, after hearing your reasons for why you believe separating him from Ravel would be a horrible idea, not to mention make things worse, and how my idea was rather harsh, I understand your point of view. I also agree that we should hold off from telling anyone to avoid causing panic. It's better for us to deal with it and prevent our enemies from finding out. I definitely think we should keep this information from the Devil Council, as I don't trust that they wouldn't take advantage of the situation. I appreciate that you've already thought about this and suggested that Issei and Roswis trade from Rias to Lady Phoenix peerage. I'm willing to help with that trade and also gather as much information as possible about PTSD and its effects on humans. I'll help Azazel research how Issei's PTSD might impact his mental state and how that could potentially affect his sacred gear, as well as look into how his evil pieces could be affected by his current situation and whether the effects are good or bad and how we can help him in the long term with his trauma. Isaka expresses her unwavering support for Issei, highlighting how he has been a hero to her and her daughter in the past. Grateful for his protection, she is eager to aid him in his recovery by utilizing her saga arts and assisting him with her powers. Her intention is to ensure that the hero her daughter looks up to can regain his strength and stand tall once more. Azazel. I want to make it clear that I am fully committed to assisting and devoting significant resources, time, and manpower to this cause. I am grateful that Ajuka is willing to collaborate with me on researching various types of human PTSD, including the diverse symptoms and manifestations it can exhibit. Together, we can investigate how this condition may impact sacred gear users and their gears. This research can help us determine how it's affecting Issei. I am also eager to explore the potential effects of the evil pieces on Issei and work towards resolving any negative consequences due to the events that are going on with him mentally. We should also consider how this could affect the evil pieces. Seraphol. It appears that we are all in agreement on the need to provide comprehensive support and assistance in addressing this issue. Our commitment to Issei and his contributions to our collective cause is evident through the unity of our alliance. Once our leaders are informed of the steps we have discussed, they will undoubtedly be pleased to witness the support and efforts of everyone involved. With that being said, I believe it is time to cease prolonging this meeting and begin delving into the matter at hand. There is no time to waste. Isaka. It would be beneficial if my daughter could join me to visit Issei. It's important for him to know that he has the support and care of others during his recovery. It would also bring happiness to my daughter and uplift Issei's spirits. I personally believe her presence would have a positive impact on the situation. Seraphol. That's not an issue for me. It should work out fine. I believe he would enjoy seeing little Kunu again. But if there's nothing else, then we can consider this meeting over. Following the conclusion of the meeting, all of the leaders rise from their seats, ready to address and assist Issei's current situation. Their commitment is unwavering as they strive to provide the utmost support for him. Each leader activates teleportation circles beneath their feet and disappears to their respective factions. They commence their research, gather manpower, and allocate resources to aid Issei's recovery. Assessing the extent of damage he has endured and devising measures to prevent further harm becomes their priorities. Their determination is unyielding, and they will spare no effort in preventing Issei from losing control again and causing harm to others. Dragon to dragon, Ravel and Grafia accompanied Issei's parents, Miki and Goru Haidu, as they navigated their way through the vast Leviathan mansion. The purpose of their journey was to reach the room where their son was being kept. Miki, filled with curiosity, couldn't help but wonder about Issei's accomplishments. Taking advantage of the moment, Grafia mentioned Issei's valiant defense of the underworld against the rogue god Loki. With the aid of Thor's hammer, Issei emerged victorious, leaving Miki in awe as she comprehended the pivotal role her son played in safeguarding others. Expanding upon the conversation, Ravel proudly shared how Issei had triumphed over her own brother, Rias, in order to rescue Rias from an unwanted arranged marriage. This heroic act not only garnered him the support and admiration of the reincarnated devils, but also earned him the respect of lower and middle-class devils. Ravel firmly believed that Issei served as a beacon of hope, inspiring others to strive for success and realize their aspirations. Miki felt a mix of pride and sadness as she realized that her son consistently placed himself in perilous situations to assist others. Garo shared similar emotions, acknowledging Issei's bravery and unwavering commitment to standing up for what he believed was just, even if it meant jeopardizing his own life to help those who may not have deserved it. As they neared Issei's room, their admiration and concerns as parents only grew stronger. Scene change. Citri Hospital in the underworld. Xenovia was lying in a hospital bed. She began to regain consciousness slowly in an unfamiliar location. Confusion and disorientation washed over her as she glanced around and noticed Griselda, her mother, engrossed in a book. Their eyes met and Griselda let out a sigh before speaking. Griselda Quarta is a stunning woman wearing a white outfit with gold trim and designs. She is also wearing a beautiful golden cross around her neck. Griselda has beautiful blue eyes, silky white hair, and a very well endowed and amazing figure. Griselda. It seems that you're finally awakening, my daughter. It's a relief to see that the phoenix tears have healed your physical wounds from the beating Issei Haidu gave you. Fear gripped Xenovia as she quickly surveyed the room, anxious about the well-being of her friends and the whereabouts of Issei. Griselda raised her hand, signaling for her to calm down. Xenovia. What happened to Asia? Did Issei harm anyone else from Ria's peerage? And how is Issei? Was he stopped before causing any more harm? Griselda. Take a deep breath. Everyone is safe, including Issei, who was brought back to his senses with Ravel's assistance. However, he subsequently lost consciousness. You were gravely injured, on the verge of death, along with 2 others who narrowly escaped a similar fate. My dear daughter, I want to understand why you joined in berating and humiliating the very man whom you once held feelings for and admired for his compassion. You spoke highly of him and his willingness to go above and beyond for those he cares about. It seems as though you disregarded Issei's emotional well-being and focused primarily on your own. By neglecting to address Issei's trauma, all of you, including both the girls and boys, contributed to the unfortunate events that unfolded. In this regard, you all fell short. That being said, I am curious to understand, my dear Xenovia, why you, along with everyone else, turned against the person whom you all held in high regard and cared for deeply. Xenovia's heart sank as she absorbed the weight of the situation, her mind overwhelmed with a mix of thoughts and emotions. She reflected on the unfolding events and the profound repercussions they would undoubtedly bring. Leaning forward, she spoke in a soft contemplative tone. Xenovia. So, I assume you are already aware of what has transpired. Griselda's gaze turned stern, disappointment evident in her voice as she responded. Griselda. Oh, my dear child, I am not merely aware of it, I have personally witnessed the memories, just like everyone else. I must confess, I find it truly disheartening. I never expected my own daughter to partake in such disrespectful behavior, particularly toward someone she claims to hold affection for. It is ironic how you accuse others of denseness while remaining blind to your own actions. Xenovia was taken aback, struggling to find her words. Xenovia. How did you find out about this? Griselda's expression turned grave as she disclosed a troubling revelation. Griselda. I saw the memory crystals containing Ravel Phoenix's recollections of the incident. Only a select few, myself included, were granted access to them prior to the meeting. During the gathering, Lady Gabriel addressed Irina Shidu's misconduct and the ensuing consequences she will face. The heavens are not happy with an angel mistreating a hero. However, there is more unsettling news that I need to discuss with you, my daughter. Xenovia, a mixture of hope and concern welling up inside her, sought further clarification. Xenovia's face contorted with a mix of shock and anxiety. Xenovia. What is it? Griselda's tone grew somber as she began to speak. Griselda. You must understand that Issei's parents, Miki and Goru, have made their position unequivocally clear. They adamantly refuse to allow you and the others involved to remain a part of their son's life. They harbor no forgiveness in their hearts for the pain you have caused him. Furthermore, Ravel Phoenix will not tolerate your presence or that of anyone else who contributed to Issei's suffering. Consequently, you will be relocated to a Grimory-owned apartment complex situated on the opposite side of Kao. Devastation washed over Xenovia as she absorbed this news. She realized that her mistake would now keep her separated from the man she truly loved. Tears began to well up in her eyes, but before she could react, Griselda interjected. Griselda. There is one more thing I must disclose, and I'm afraid it will shatter you even further. Without hesitation, Griselda rose from her seat and opened a dimensional portal. She retrieved Durandal, forcefully slamming the blade onto the ground. Xenovia. How could this happen? Griselda's voice carried a firm tone as she continued. Griselda. It is clear why Durandal has chosen me as its new wielder, forsaking you in the process. The sword has made a decision based on the qualities and abilities it seeks in its wielder. It has deemed you unworthy, citing your questionable character and how you mistreated Issei, disregarding his feelings and the trauma he endured. Your actions have undeniably proven that you are not suitable to wield the sword. Xenovia was taken aback, coming to terms with the reality that the sword had deemed her inadequate and had left her due to her own actions. Xenovia. I never intended for things to escalate to this extent. I apologize. Griselda's response was unwavering. Griselda. Your intentions do not change the fact that you, along with your group and even your former partner Irina, acted against someone who consistently showed you kindness and assisted you in various situations. Ignorance of the consequences or potential outcomes does not excuse your actions. The damage has been done, and you cannot alter the current situation or undo the pain that has been inflicted and potential consequences that await you and your group. Xenovia. Consequences? What do you mean, mother? Griselda placed Durandal back into its pocket dimension, planted a kiss on her daughter's forehead, and proceeded towards the hospital room door before leaving. Just as she opened it, she delivered one final message to her daughter. Griselda. My daughter, I do not harbor any hatred towards you, and my love for you remains unchanged. However, I am deeply disappointed in your treatment of the man who has done so much for your group. As for the consequences, it is not my place to inform you of what they might be. I only hope you find the strength to endure this challenging time and learn from your mistakes. With that, Griselda exited through the door and closed it behind her, leaving Xenovia slumped over in her bed, overcome with tears. She realized the far-reaching repercussions of her actions and acknowledged that they may be the gravest mistake she has ever made. Scene change. Town Park. Irina sat beneath the shade of a towering tree, her back pressed against its sturdy trunk. With her legs drawn close to her chest, tears cascaded down her cheeks, reflecting her deep anguish. Lying beside her was a weighty rock, bearing the intertwining engravings of her initials and Issei's, encircled by a heart. Regret consumed her, and the weight of her mistakes became painfully clear. Suddenly, a comforting presence settled beside her, accompanied by a voice she recognized all too well. Aoji Shido. Well, looks like you've really messed things up this time, huh, sweetheart. Aoji Shido, a tall man with spiky chestnut hair and a very well-built body, wearing blue jeans and a rolled-up long sleeve, with brown eyes. Startled, Irina looked up and found her father's presence, his expression a blend of sternness and concern, taking her by surprise. Confusion clouded her tear-streaked face as she questioned his unexpected appearance. Irina. Dad, sniff, what brings you here? Aoji. First and foremost, I'm here to comfort my daughter who is crying her heart out. His words resonated deeply within Irina, breaking down the barriers she had erected to hold in her emotions. Overwhelmed by emotion, she threw her arms around her father, seeking solace in his embrace as she released the weight of her mistakes through her tears. Irina. Dad, I've messed up so terribly. Aoji. I am aware, and it's alright. You will find a way to overcome this. Desperation etched itself into Irina's voice as she implored her father, yearning for a chance to make amends. She longed to elucidate her intentions and extend her apologies to Issei. Aoji interrupted her, a stern expression on his face, as he explained the harsh reality. Aoji. Listen to me. Recall when you accidentally broke your mother's cherished vase. Despite your apology, she remained upset and you faced appropriate consequences. The current situation is distinct, yet the circumstances bear similarities. A mere apology will not suffice. I have been apprised of the remarks made by both Issei's parents and others concerning your actions. They have made it abundantly clear that they will never grant you forgiveness for the harm you caused their son. Even if Issei were to forgive you, I doubt that you would have any chance of restoring your relationship with him. Furthermore, it appears that this Phoenix girl is determined to keep you away from him. Additionally, you will be returning to England and residing with our family for the foreseeable future. You will also be accompanied to the meeting with the Seraphims to determine the repercussions of your actions. Irina broke further, realizing the harsh reality that her circumstances were unchangeable. The weight of the situation was overwhelming, and all she could do was continue to cry, knowing that things would never be the same again. Irina. Sniff. So how's mom taking the news? Aoji's expression softened as he looked at his daughter, understanding the pain she was going through. Irina's tears continued to flow freely as she awaited her father's response. Aoji. Your mother is understandably disappointed. She had great expectations for you and Issei. However, she also recognizes the seriousness of the situation. She understands that certain mistakes cannot be undone with a simple apology. She wants what is best for you, even if it means accepting the consequences of your actions. Irina nodded, her tears continuing to flow. The weight of the irreversible damage she had caused settled deeper within her. Irina, but what about Issei? Do you think he will ever forgive me? Aoji let out a heavy sigh, his gaze fixed upon the distant horizon. Aoji. Irina, it's hard to say. Your actions have profoundly shaken his trust in you. Even if he were to forgive you, I doubt that things could ever return to how they once were between the two of you. Furthermore, his parents have made their position clear. They are determined to protect their son, and they perceive you as a threat to him. The chances of repairing your relationship with Issei are slim, my dear. The weight of his words descended heavily upon Irina, intensifying the ache in her heart. Irina. So, not only am I losing Issei, but I'm also being compelled to leave Japan. Aoji nodded, his voice a blend of empathy and determination. Aoji. Yes, Irina. It is for your own well-being and the process of healing. The Seraphims have requested a meeting to discuss the repercussions of your actions, and you will be accompanied there. We will be relocating to England for the foreseeable future, and you will reside with us. It is crucial to take accountability for your actions and derive lessons from this experience. Irina's breath caught in her throat as the reality of her circumstances fully sank in. The enormity of her errors and the ensuing consequences appeared insurmountable. Irina. I understand, Dad. I will face the consequences and grow from this. It's just it hurts tremendously to lose Issei and everything we once shared. Aoji enveloped his daughter in a comforting embrace, offering solace and support. Aoji. I understand, my dear. It is indeed agonizing, but sometimes the consequences of our actions surpass our expectations and control. What matters now is that we acknowledge our mistakes, learn from them, and take strides towards rectifying the situation. We are united as a family, Irina. You are not alone. With her father's presence, Irina felt a flicker of hope amidst the overpowering despair. She recognized the arduous path that lay ahead, but her determination to confront it head-on surged within her. She longed for redemption and the opportunity to rebuild the fractured trust. Irina was on the verge of speaking, but her father gently interjected. Aoji. Please understand that my pompous demeanor should not be misconstrued as a lack of disappointment or shame. I am well aware that I have raised you to be better than this. That's precisely why I feel compelled to express my thoughts now and conclude this matter. I assume Lady Gabriel has already informed you about your punishment. However, there are additional consequences that you must consider. Regardless of the choice you make, whether you allow yourself to succumb and become a fallen angel, resulting in your excommunication from the church, or if you willingly relinquish your angelhood and your position as Lord Michael Ace, either way, you will still face excommunication from the church. Your mother and I are powerless to prevent it. Besides this, there is nothing else I wish to add that has not already been conveyed or will be conveyed by your mother. My role in this situation is to provide solace and unwavering support during these challenging times. That's what fathers are meant to do. But most importantly, I have always emphasized that during difficult times, when your heart feels shattered, a comforting scoop of good old-fashioned ice cream can provide solace. Let's revisit the ice cream shop from your childhood, the one where I used to take you whenever you were upset or facing troubles. Irina wasn't taken aback by the fact that this was yet another consequence of her actions. She had deviated from the path laid out by God and had succumbed to her own selfish emotions and desires. She had betrayed her best friend and the man she loved, a grave sin indeed. Understanding the reasons behind her impending excommunication, her heart ached. In a way, she knew that this could be one of the penalties she would face, and thus, she appreciated her father's intention. Despite her tear-stained face, she managed to summon a faint smile and responded, "Alright, Dad, I believe a scoop of ice cream would be just what I need right now." With that, both Irina and Taoji brushed off the dust from the ground and started walking towards the ice cream shop. Taoji held his daughter close, trying to lift her spirits and provide whatever comfort he could in that moment. Scene change. Issei mindscape. Issei. What were am I dreaming? Dreg. It's good to see that my partner hasn't lost his sense of humor. Issei. Dreg. Issei got up and hugged Dreg, feeling relieved to see him again. Dreg allowed it for a moment before pushing him off and saying, "Dreg. Alright, I'm a heavenly dragon, not a stuffed animal. We need to talk about what happened because what you experienced wasn't a dream. You just came out of a depth of your mind that I wasn't able to access or even communicate with you." Issei. So, everything that happened was real? Dreg. Yes, everything that you can recall happened. Issei. No, 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 I almost killed so many people. Asia, Xenovia, Serafal, Graphia, and oh no, Ravel, is she alright? How am I ever going to face her again? Drake let out a loud roar to get his attention. Drake. Issei, enough, calm down. Everything's going to be alright. They all realize that you were not in your right state of mind and that your dragon instincts took over. They understand what happened. Serafal and Graphia are both fine. As for the other two girls, I personally think death would have been suitable for them, but I can understand why you wouldn't want that on your conscience, especially if you weren't in the right state of mind. And as for Ravel, you're going to face her like the dragon you are, not act like a scared coward. She went above and beyond to not only provide you with comfort but also to bring you back from your despair. You're going to face that woman who openly admitted she loved you like a dragon. She's not upset with you, she was happy to have you back. If you look back in your memories before you completely passed out, you could see the relief and happiness in her eyes. So, calm down, partner. Issei took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the situation settle upon him. He couldn't believe what he had heard. Issei. So, you're telling me that Ravel actually confessed that she loves me? Greg. Partner, you don't need me to remind you of what happened. You have the memories, and you know exactly what she said. Don't deny the feelings that little phoenix ignited within you. I understand that it's overwhelming, but you can't ignore the fact that she stood by your side when everyone else was against you. She was there during your darkest moments, pulling you out of despair and allowing me to finally communicate with you. You need to confront your emotions because what she did went far beyond mere infatuation. She displayed genuine love for you, and she deserves the same in return. I'm connected to your soul and can sense your emotions and feelings at all times. There are moments when I wish I couldn't, especially when it comes to your perverted thoughts and feelings. But once your heart truly starts caring for her and realizing all the love she has shown you, you should reciprocate it. You can deal with your feelings later, but for now, let's focus on the matter at hand. Issei nodded, acknowledging the truth in Drake's words. Issei. Yes, you're right. I can sort out my feelings later, but what's wrong now? Drake's attention shifted to a large black mist wall in Issei's mindscape, blocking part of the area. Issei. What is that thing? Drake. I'm not sure, but I advise you not to touch it. It seems to be related to what happened to you on that particular day. The incident caused your soul to fragment. Issei. What do you mean by my soul fragmented? Does that mean my life force has decreased even more? Or is it something worse? Drake. I don't know. All I can say is that the fracture involved your negative emotions, rage, anger, and dragon instincts. It's all mixed up in that miasma barrier. I've never seen anything like this before. It's abnormal even for you. Issei. So you have no idea what's going on? Wait, my negative emotions, anger, and dragon instinct separated from me? I'm so confused, Drake. Drake chuckled, well, partner, don't feel bad, because I'm confused too. I don't know what's happening. But what I do know is that the miasma seems to be a corrupted form of your aura from when you awakened as a true dragon. Issei. Wait, so not only did I lose control and let my instincts take over, but you're saying that in that whole traumatic incident with Rainer, my dragon aura awakened? Issei glanced around frantically, realizing he had spoken about Rainer. Drake let out another roar to snap him out of his hysteria. Drake. Listen, partner, what happened to you was traumatic, and your ability to make the impossible possible seems to have affected all aspects of yourself including your soul. As for that fallen angel, I've given her a final execution. She will never bother you again. There are no traces of her soul within you. What's behind that barrier is you, but corrupted. It gives me the sense of an evil dragon lurking within there. Issei let out a sigh of confusion before scratching his head. Issei. So, if I understand correctly, Drake, you're saying that I woke in my dragon aura, which was corrupted by the girl's actions and got fragmented from my soul, accumulating behind the black mist wall. But do we know what my dragon aura actually is? Drake. Unfortunately, I don't know. However, considering that your aura is not supposed to be what it currently is, I believe it has been corrupted by your state of mind and negative emotions at that time, along with your dragon instincts. Issei. How is that even possible? Drake. Issei, remember when I told you that there is something all supernatural beings fear, regardless of their strength? It's a dragon in an enraged and rampaging state. Even the weakest class of dragon in such a state can instill fear in even the most powerful beings. So, for you to be in a similar state, with your dragon instincts taking over due to the trauma and everything that happened, it's possible that your negative emotions and anger towards your former group and your own trauma led to a 1 in a billion chance of your dragon instincts gaining a sentient personality and fragmenting itself behind the forming black mist. This is just my theory, though, as there is no direct way of knowing for sure when it comes to you. Issei. This all seems like a hassle, Drake. Drake. And there's more, partner. Issei. What else could be wrong with me? Drake. Don't be so down, partner. As you awaken your dragon side, you're becoming more like a dragon, which will lead to you losing more of your human and devil side until eventually it's completely overtaken by your dragon side. But that's not why I brought it up. There's also that yellow-orange flame floating behind you. It's not hostile, but I have no idea what it is. Issei. Where did it come from? Greg. Well, remember how the flaming phoenix burned away the darkness around you? Instead of dissipating, it condensed into that floating ball of flame. I can't explain it. Issei. Great, now we have a fireball as a roommate. By the way, what happened to the darkness inside me? Greg. I tried to use my purgatory flames to burn it away, but it scurried back to where the miasma well is. As for that fire, it gives me a strange feeling, like something is watching me through it. It feels primal, like the presence of great redder office. It's not as overwhelming or intimidating as a dragon, but it's hard to say for sure. I've never felt anything like it. Sometimes, when I'm not paying attention, it feels like it's giving me an evil look. Issei. If it's causing you, the heavenly Welsh dragon, to become paranoid, then perhaps we should be worried about it. Greg. I understand your concern, but for now, I don't think it should be our main focus. It doesn't seem to be causing any immediate issues. I believe we should prioritize dealing with the fragmented personalities hiding behind the wall of miasma. Issei. That's fair. But hold on a second, my dragon aura got corrupted. Does that mean I will never be able to use it again? Or is there a way to undo the corruption and restore it back to what it was meant to be? Greg. These are questions that I don't have the answers to, partner. Unfortunately, we may have to wait and see how things unfold. However, at the moment, corruption hasn't taken control over your personality or your current persona. What concerns me is the possibility that it might subtly influence you, causing you to lose control or become a battle maniac during intense fights, potentially harming others or even your own comrades. Issei. So, this is a serious matter? Greg. Yes, it is. Considering your inherently heroic nature and potential for good, it's not far-fetched to think that there might be an opposing force within you. Because just as a bright light casts an even darker shadow, I fear that the shadow currently casted might be something we should be worried about. If your capacity for good is as strong as it is, imagine the potential for darkness if you were to suddenly switch and become the embodiment of evil and become that monster once again. Issei's expression turned terrified and horrified upon realizing the gravity of Drake's words. Issei. Drake, I'm getting really worried about this situation. We need to find a way to reunite my soul fragments before they manifest into something dangerous. As my partner, I was hoping you could help me out. Greg. I understand your concern, Issei. Believe me, I've tried my best to locate and connect with your scattered soul fragments. However, it seems like there is a deliberate attempt to hide from me or prevent any interaction. This raises a lot of questions about the entity's intentions and its growing consciousness. Issei took a deep breath and pondered the situation. He rested his chin on his fist, his eyes fixed on Drake. Issei. So, the best course of action for now is to monitor the situation closely and enlist the help of others when needed. I guess we have to be patient and cautious as we deal with this mysterious force forming within me. Greg nods in agreement. Greg. Precisely, Issei. It's crucial for us to be vigilant and gather any information we can. As the situation progresses, we'll reassess our options and seek assistance from trusted allies. Together, we'll face this challenge head-on and safeguard your soul from any further harm. Issei took a moment to contemplate Drake's words, instilling a sense of determination within himself. Issei. Well, Drake, it seems like there's nothing we can do other than wait and see what happens, but I have a question for you, and I need you not to freak out before I tell you this. Drake was curious and had a concerned look on his face. He raised an eyebrow and gave Issei the signal to continue. Issei. I think I no longer want to be the harem king and would prefer to be in a monogamous relationship with one person. After what the girls did to me, ignoring my trauma, berating me, and making me feel replaceable, I realized that maybe having a harem isn't for me. I've learned something from this experience. Just because you're with women who claim they love you doesn't necessarily mean they truly do. However, what Ravel did for me, bringing me out of my own despair and saving me from actions I would have regretted, showed me what it means to truly love somebody and be with them through the good and the bad. To stand by them no matter what and do whatever it takes to save the one you love. Upon hearing this, Drake fainted, never expecting to hear such a revelation from one of his most perverted hosts. Issei called out for Drake to wake up, not realizing that this shocking news would cause him to faint. Issei. Drake, wake up, come on, you're a heavenly dragon. You shouldn't be fainting just because of that news. Come on, wake up. Scene change. Back to Grafia, Ravel, Mickey, and Goru Haidu. The group is standing outside a room, discussing the recent events involving their son, Issei. Mickey. It's hard to believe that my baby boy was able to accomplish all of that. On one hand, I want to scold him for risking his life, but on the other, I can't help but feel proud of all the good he has done. Boru. I am amazed that our son managed to defeat a god as a father, I couldn't be prouder of his achievement. Slap, Mickey. Goru Haidu, don't forget that our son almost died in that fight. If it weren't for Ravel's help, we might have lost him. Boru. Ouch, that hurt. You're right, Mickey. Ravel, it seems you have been instrumental in assisting our son in ways we never could have imagined. Who would have thought that the phoenix tear you gave him would save his life? Thank you again, but at what point does it become repetitive? Ravel. There is no need for that, you don't have to keep saying thank you to me. As I've said, I truly love your son and want to support him no matter what. Just then, Graphia stopped outside a room and turned to face the group. Graphia. This is your son's room. I would accompany you to check on him, but I have responsibilities to attend to back at the Gremory mansion. I bid you farewell. Mickey. Thank you very much for everything you've done and for your kind words about our son. Boru. Yes, thank you. I'm grateful that our son has someone like you, Ravel, to guide him. Don't be afraid to give him a good slap on the head if he gets out of line. You have our permission for that. Upon hearing those words, Graphia's stoic demeanor softened and a smile graced her face. Graphia. I appreciate that and there's no need for thanks. If you'll excuse me, I must be on my way. She bowed to them and began walking back the way they came, but before she disappeared around a corner, she stopped by Ravel and whispered something that only her devil hearing could catch. Graphia. I will leave you alone so that you can bond with your in-laws. It seems they have grown fond of you as their son's partner. You've got this, Ravel. Take good care of him. Ravel nodded and smiled at Graphia, understanding the weight of her words. With that, Graphia walked away until she was out of sight, leaving the rest of the group to enter the room where Issei rested and recovered. Ravel, still caught between nervousness and anticipation, took a moment to collect her thoughts. Inhaling deeply, she let out a slow breath, feeling her tension ease slightly. She glanced at Mickey and Garo Haidu, mustering the courage to proceed. With a determined nod, she opened the door to the room where their son, Issei, was being monitored. Inside the room, Roswis, the person in charge of watching over Issei, was engaged in a quiet conversation with him. With no one else present, she spoke softly, aware that Issei was still in a deep slumber. She was hoping her gentle words could still be heard by him even in his slumbering state. As the door creaked open, Roswis quickly noticed the intrusion. Rising from her seat, she realized it was Issei's parents. Mickey, Goru Haidu, and Ravel, who had entered the room. Roswis saw the overwhelming emotions building up in both Mickey and Goru Haidu's faces, steps back, and soon as she did, they ran up to see their son. Mickey and Goru were on the same bedside with each other, holding their son's hand while tears welled up in Mickey's eyes. Ravel walked up to Roswis and spoke to her. Ravel. Hey Roswis, has anything changed on his status yet? Roswis. Unfortunately, no. Ravel, his status hasn't changed much. So I take it they know everything. Ravel was upset upon hearing that he has not woken up from his self-induced coma yet, but she nods at Roswis, confirming her question. Roswis. Ah, I see. So I guess the punishments are already being implemented. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to go get something to eat. If that's alright with you and you can handle watching him for the time being. Ravel. Of course, please go get something to eat and get some rest. I think his parents would like some time alone with him. Roswis. Of course. Before she walked out of the room, Mickey spoke up, tears in her eyes. Mickey. Roswis, thank you very much for being kind to my son and taking care of him. Boru. We've said this to everyone else, and we'll say it to you. We're deeply thankful for you helping with our son and monitoring his condition. Thank you. Both Mickey and Garo bowed to Roswis. Roswis bowed in return. Roswis. You don't owe me anything. I see him as a good comrade and a friend. But if you excuse me, I will leave to go get some food and rest. I'll leave you some time with your son. Roswis then opens the door and walks out and closes it behind her. Ravel. I'll also be taking my leave so you can have alone time with him. But before she could turn around to leave, Mickey and Goru speak. Mickey. No, please stay. Goru. He is just as important to us as he is to you, so please stay. I'm pretty sure he would like to know your presence was next to him. So please stay. Ravel's heart began beating fast and she has a red face, but she also feels really happy and filled with butterflies at that comment. She makes her way to the other side of Issei's bed and begins talking to him. Ravel. Hey, Ice, I don't know if you can hear me, but please come back to us. We are all worried about you. Ravel reaches over and gently brushes a strand of hair from Issei's face, her fingers trembling with tenderness. Both Mickey and Goru held tightly onto their son's hands. Mickey. Wake up, my boy. Your mother is worried about you and wants to know if you're alright. She wants to praise you for your accomplishments and scold you for your reckless actions. But most importantly, she just wants you to be okay and put her mind at ease. Goru. Son, I'm incredibly proud of the person you've become. You've faced challenges that most would avoid, and you've come out on top. Goro then tried to whisper something to him, but Ravel overheard and yelled at him. Ravel. You're not taking him to any of those sleazy gentlemen's clubs, do you understand me? Goro realized at that moment he knew, he bucked up. Then Mickey squeezed his hand, causing him to turn his head slowly to meet his wife's intense gaze. Both Mickey and Ravel were giving him a death glare that made him feel like he was looking into the depths of death itself. Mickey. Our son is in a coma and you decide to whisper about taking him to a gentleman's club in front of his future fiancée. Goro Haidu, it seems you need to be taught a lesson, wouldn't you agree, Ravel? Ravel. I agree with you, Mickey. I think he deserves some punishment. Goro could only gulp in fear, yelling at his son to wake up so that his future fiancée and mother could be happy again before he faced severe consequences. But before he could say anything else, an overwhelming presence surrounded them and all that could be heard was screaming. In the dining room of the Leviathan mansion, Roswis was having lunch when she heard the screams from the other side of the mansion. She sighed and muttered to herself. Roswis. At least I know where Issei gets it from. And she continued eating as the screams continued. Scene change. Back in Issei mindscape, Greg slowly regained consciousness, his eyes blinking open as he tried to make sense of his surroundings. It had been around 15 minutes since he had fainted and Issei had been persistently trying to rouse him during that time. Though still groggy, Drake managed to gather his thoughts and address Issei. Drake. I never thought your soul would be so shattered that you're seriously contemplating giving up on your harem king dreams. Issei. It's not like that, actually. I genuinely meant what I said. I don't believe that having a harem guarantees me love from all those involved. Ravel showed me an example of what true love is, and that's the type of love I want to reciprocate to her. You told me to be true to myself and to embrace my feelings. Although I'm not quite ready to confess like she did, I'm getting there. I would like to take her on a proper date before making any big gestures. Greg was taken aback by Issei's words, which were a stark departure from his usual perversion. Hearing him express such sentiments simultaneously filled Drake with pride and relief, as it seemed Issei might be able to shed his infamous op-eyed dragon reputation sooner than expected. Drake. I'm proud of you, partner. It's not necessary to rush into a confession, but I believe that allowing yourself time and planning a proper date is the best approach. Don't let yourself be pressured, and I doubt Ravel would try to force anything upon you like the other girls did. Issei nodded, grateful for Drake's understanding and encouragement. He knew that Ravel was different from the other girls who had pursued him, and he wanted to approach their relationship with sincerity and respect. The fact that Drake supported his decision gave him a sense of reassurance. Issei, thanks Drake. I appreciate your advice. I don't want to rush things with Ravel or let myself feel pressured. I want to take the time to get to know her better and build a strong foundation for our relationship. Drake. That's the spirit, partner. Love is a complex thing, and it's important to take it slow and make sure you're both on the same page. Remember, a harem isn't the only path to happiness. It's about finding a genuine connection with someone who truly understands and accepts you. Issei agreed wholeheartedly with Drake's sentiments. He didn't want to pursue a harem just for the sake of fulfilling some adolescent fantasy or because he was lonely. He wanted a deeper, more meaningful connection, and he believed he perhaps could find that with Ravel. The thought of settling down with her and building a future together brought a warmth to his heart that he had never experienced before. Issei. Drake, I think I finally understand what it means to be a true harem king. It's not about having multiple partners, it's about being dedicated, loyal, and fully committed to the one person you truly love. In this case, that person is Ravel. She deserves my full attention and devotion. I want to make Ravel happy and be the best partner I can be for her. I'll take her on a wonderful date and make her feel cherished. And when the time is right, I'll gather the courage to confess my feelings. Drake. You're starting to sound like a true dragon, Issei. I'm glad to see you maturing and growing beyond your perverted antics. Ravel is a special girl, and I have a feeling that she will bring out the best in you. With Drake's support, Issei felt more confident in his decision to pursue a relationship with Ravel. He knew it wouldn't be easy, and there would be challenges along the way, but he was willing to face them head-on. The determination in Issei's voice resonated with Drake. He could see that Issei was ready to embark on a new chapter of his life, one where he would prioritize genuine love over fantasies and desires. Drake knew that this change was not only for Issei's own growth, but also for the sake of their partnership as the Red Dragon Emperor. Drake. Excellent, partner. I have faith in you. Remember, I'm here to guide and support you every step of the way. Now, let's start planning that unforgettable date to show Ravel how much she means to you. As Issei and Drake began to discuss the details of the upcoming date, both felt a sense of excitement and anticipation. Together, they would navigate the complexities of love and relationships, all while striving to become the best versions of themselves. Drake paused for a minute and looked upwards into the mindscape before looking back down at Issei. Issei. Drake, is everything alright? Drake. Yes, believe it's time for you to wake up, your body's starting to finally show signs of regaining consciousness. So it's time to go see the people that are waiting to see you once again. I think a certain phoenix, and if what I'm feeling correctly is, I think two people that you would have never have thought to be there waiting for you are also there, so I think you should go. Issei was confused, he was about to ask Drake what he meant until Drake forced him out of his own mindscape, causing him to scream as he was pushed away, and the white void with the black mist wall completely vanished until everything went dark. Scene change. Back in the room with Ravel, Mickey, and a visibly battered Goru, they all gathered around Issei's bed. Each of them held one of Issei's hands, with Ravel softly grasping his right hand and Mickey holding his left, while Goru stood behind Mickey to provide support. Suddenly, Ravel felt Issei's hand twitch under her touch. She glanced at his face and noticed his eyelids starting to flutter. Her heart soared with hope, causing her to jump up from her seat in excitement. Finally, to everyone's relief, Issei's familiar chocolate brown eyes began to open. Mickey, on the verge of tears, was overcome with joy, while Goru, with a small tear in his eye, comforted his wife by pulling her close to his chest. Unable to contain her emotions any longer, Ravel leaped onto the bed, wrapping her arms around Issei and crying tears of happiness. Issei held her tightly in a warm embrace, gently trying to calm her down, assuring her that everything would be alright. Amidst the tears and embrace, Issei finally spoke, addressing Ravel. Issei. Hey Ravel, what did I miss? Ravel, still sobbing, managed to respond amidst her tears. Ravel. Oh, Ice, you're finally awake, I missed you so much, I was so worried about you. Issei patiently comforted Ravel as she continued to cry, assuring her that he was here and that there was much to explain on both sides. He also greeted his parents, acknowledging the fact that there was much he needed to clarify and that they had likely been informed about recent events. Mickey and Goru nodded gratefully, relieved that their son's personality and sense of humor had remained intact. Issei's question, though, reminded them that more questions and answers were still on the horizon. However, for now, they were all just grateful that Issei was safe and had finally awakened from his terrifying rampage. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.